So there's a couple more characters from Genesis with fun wordplay in their names that I want to talk about. But in order to explain them, oh no, it looks like I'm gonna have to revisit a story that I've already covered in another video. Famously my least favorite thing to do lately, but I hope you'll bear with me. In Genesis 18, God and two angels visit Abraham's tent, and Abraham hurries to put together a nice picnic for them. And he goes all out. He has Sarah make fresh loaves, and he slaughters a calf and brings out butter and milk. It's a huge feast for his guests. After that, the two angels start heading out, and God reveals to Abraham that he's gonna destroy the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah because everyone there is really bad and evil. But Abraham knows that his nephew Lot is living in Sodom, so he says, "Will you consume the righteous with the wicked? What if there are 50 righteous within the city? Will you consume and not spare the place for the 50 righteous who are in it? May it be far from you to do things like that, to kill the righteous with the wicked so that the righteous should be like the wicked. May that be far from you. Shouldn't the judge of all the earth do right? If I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare the whole place for their sake." See, now I have taken it on myself to speak to the Lord, although I am dust and ashes. What if there will lack 5 of the 50 righteous? Will you destroy all the city for lack of 5? I will not destroy it if I find 45 there. And this goes on until Abraham haggles God down to 10 righteous people in order to spare the whole city. In chapter 19, the angels arrive at the gates of Sodom where they meet Lot, and he insists that they stay the night in his home for fear of what those nasty, evil Sodomites will do to them if they're found out in the streets. They come with him, and Lot makes for them a feast of flatbread, which is not very impressive compared to Abraham's picnic, but you know, he tried. Then suddenly there's a knock at the door, and it's literally every man in Sodom surrounding Lot's house, and they say, "Where are the men who came to you this night? Bring them out to us so that we may know them." And by know them, I mean like in the biblical sense. What's the Bible? Please, my brothers, don't act so wickedly. See now, I have 2 virgin daughters. Please let me bring them out to you so that you may do to them what seems good to you. Only don't do anything to these men because they have come under the shadow of my roof. Okay, pause. This is Lot trying to be a good host by protecting his house guests, something considered a sacred duty in the ancient world, which the Sodomites clearly have no respect for. But I don't believe anyone would have considered Lot offering his daughters to be an acceptable compromise. And regardless, it fails. The Sodomites say, "This one fellow came to live as a foreigner, and he appoints himself a judge. Now we'll deal worse with you than with them." They try to take Lot, but then the angels pull him back inside and blind the men in front of the house. And now that the Sodomites had decidedly failed to meet God's 10 not terrible person quota, the angels tell Lot to take his family and leave so they can proceed to smite the city out of existence. Lot then hurries to his sons-in-law. It's not clear whether these men were betrothed to his 2 virgin daughters or married to different ones who weren't mentioned, and he tries to warn them of the city's imminent destruction, but he seemed to his sons-in-law to be joking. The word for joking here being Kimtsahake, which uses the same root as the name Isaac. So that's a fun Easter egg if you watched my other video. Lot then dawdled around until morning, eventually having to be physically dragged with his family out of Sodom, and the angels tell him, "Escape with your life! Don't look behind you, and don't stay anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, lest you be consumed." I can't escape to the mountain, lest evil overtake me and I die. See now, this city is near to flee to, and it's a little one. Oh, let me escape there. Isn't it a little one? And my soul will live. Come on. Behold, I have granted your request concerning this thing also, that I will not overthrow the city of which you have spoken. Hurry and escape there, for I can't do anything until you get there. And this little city would then be called Zoar, meaning small and insignificant. When they finally make it there, God rains fire and brimstone down on Sodom and Gomorrah. And disregarding the angel's warning, Mrs. Lot turns to look at the destruction and becomes a pillar of salt. Womp womp. So up to now, I've been trying to highlight all of the ways Lot fails to measure up to the example set by his uncle Abraham in the previous chapter. When guests arrive at Abraham's home, he rushes to put together a feast for them. Meanwhile, Lot just has lousy flatbread to offer. And Lot further fails as a host when he tries to protect his guests from a violent mob, but only makes the situation worse, forcing them to rescue him instead. When Abraham learns of Sodom's imminent destruction, he confronts God directly, appealing to his sense of mercy, and even manages to negotiate terms for the city to be spared. Meanwhile, Lot can't even get his sons-in-law to take him seriously when he tries to warn them. Lot can't even save himself in the end, the angels have to drag him out. And then he whines about the mountains being too dangerous to flee to, so they have to let him go to Zoar instead. The story, I think, is meant to paint Lot not necessarily as a bad guy, but clearly as inferior next to the father of God's chosen people. And this is important to keep in mind for what happens next. After the cities are destroyed, Lot takes his daughters up to live in a cave. And the older daughter says to her sister, "Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come into us in the way of all the earth, if you know what I mean. Come, let's make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve our father's family line." And they do just that, and Lot's daughters later give birth to two sons, Moab, father of the Moabites, and Ben-Ami, father of the Ammonites. So just like with Esau in my other video, this whole story turns out to be an origin for ancient Israel's neighbors. And it's even less flattering for them than with the Edomites. Moab, here is construed as coming from Me Avinu, meaning from our father, hinting at his incestuous parentage. Ben-Ami likewise means son of my kin. It's pretty easy to imagine what's going on here. The Israelites had a hostile relationship with the Moabites and Ammonites, but they still would have recognized similarities in their cultures, each of them being Semitic peoples who spoke similar languages. And so, on the basis of folk etymology, they imagined the ancestors of these two peoples to be the inbred sons of Abraham's mediocre nephew. Kinda brutal of them, not gonna lie. The Edomites got off pretty easy now that I think about it. I'd rather my mythic ancestor just be the red hairy guy.